I'm Elle Embers, and this is Cosmic Curiosities.
I'm so on board with what you said there because my life 1 to 2 years ago, completely different. Completely fucking different. And, I could have just let the bulldozer wrecking ball come in, or I could redesign my life in the way that I saw fit. And I chose to redesign my life. Everything that we do, everything that happens to us, it's not happening to us. It's happening for us. If you're seeing this as a negative thing, it's here to steer you in a new direction. It's here for you to take action. It's here to raise awareness of something that you're avoiding, that you're not looking at. And you know what? So many of the negative things that have happened in my life that I've thought, oh my God, the world is ending. Like, I don't know how I'm going to recover from this. I would not change them. I have such gratitude for the shit things that I've been through, because if I didn't go through them, I wouldn't be here now. I wouldn't be who I am now. And that's a whole shift in perspective, because I needed those things to happen to me. I needed those things to happen for me so that I could get to this point. I'm a strong believer in we create our own lives. We create our own destiny. And the spirit team has done nothing but support that idea. Like everything to do with manifestation, everything to do with processing life events, trauma, conditioning, stepping into your light, stepping into your power, stepping into your main fucking character energy. Like, it's 100% you. And it's what you choose to do about it. But I have a question for you.
Oh, heck. Okay.
What has changed, if you're comfortable to get into it, what has changed for you since the energetic coaching and coming into connection with your abilities and your team?
How long have we got? Okay, no, I'll keep it brief. Every fucking thing. For me, it's been more like puzzle pieces falling into place and embracing things I've just always fucking ignored, even though I've known they were right for me. But I'm in this industry because this is the skill that I have, because this is the way that I make money. If I leave this industry, how will I make money? What will my friends think of me? What will my family think of me? I mean, I've got a husband, I've got a house, I've got a mortgage, I've got a dog I've got to feed. I've got these responsibilities in life that I can't just up and do whatever the fuck I want. But I'm not saying now that I've gained that ability, but what I have gained is clarity on this almost victim mentality that I had of like, oh, but this is just the way that things are, and this is the way that it's got to be. Like, okay, cool. So yes, you're a marketer and you fucking hate marketing. What can we do about this? You can work with a client that's aligned with you and your values. You can choose to work with just one client that you give all of your time and attention to and make a massive fucking difference to them. You can, choose your clients. You can choose to have that be your day job and to do other things that completely light your soul up in other ways. So one of the things that we first did with the energetic coaching is the kind of wheel of, different aspects and areas of your life and how you would rate them out of 1 to 10 or 0 to 10. And I kind of got a good picture of how unbalanced my life was in certain areas. Some areas were fantastic and other areas weren't so great. And you said, this is fine, but it still is a wheel that needs to turn. So if there's, a massive gap in an area, there's going to be a bump when that wheel turns. If there's a big sticky out bit because one area is great and the rest of everything is really small, then, there's going to be a massive rise up in the air and a down again. So yoga for me has also kind of come into this at the same time. And one explanation I use when I think about yoga is it's like sound waves. So the sound waves in my life used to be really, really high and then really, really low. I really felt the highs. I was so excited. I was so carried away by them. I was so overjoyed and emotional and, you know, in with all 4 feet, as one of our friends likes to say. And then right down to the bottom again, you know, things were just apathy and nothing. And well, if that's not going to work, then what else is? And yoga and coaching and embracing my spirituality has taught me to bring those sound waves right back in. So the highs are still high and the lows are still low, but they are not extreme. I still experience everything the same as everyone else does, but I don't get off the chart, overjoyed, excited, carried away that I completely lose sight of who I am and what I'm doing and what's important. And I don't go so low that I can't bring myself back up again, or I'm out of action for a month. It's like that emotional regulation that we talked about. It's just that core stability. And once you've got that core stability, you then start looking at other things which aren't vital for your survival, like shelter and paying the mortgage or the rent and feeding yourself. And you can look at other things and go, okay, cool. I know I've got these stable things in place now. What else can I look at to bring that wheel a bit more even so that it turns evenly, so I don't experience those massive bumps or those big clunks when the flat bit of the wheel hits the ground kind of thing. Yeah. I'm hoping this makes sense. I'm gesticulating wildly in my room here, but you guys can't see that, so that doesn't help. But yeah, absolutely everything has changed, but not in a dramatic ground from beneath me is gone. In a, okay, cool, I've got super stable foundations. And this is so dramatically amazing for me as someone who used to have extreme highs and extreme lows and also suffer with massive anxiety and depression. That has leveled off. I've done a lot of work. It's not just been, 6 months and, oh, look, it's all magically fixed.
Yeah.
And it is still a process. But then there's been this beautiful side of embracing my spiritual gifts, which feels like I'm stepping way closer to my soul, if that makes sense. So if my soul is the blueprint for why I'm here and what I'm meant to do, then embracing these gifts feels like a step, a jump, a leap closer to that. And that makes everything else so much smoother because I'm not fighting myself anymore. Yeah, I'm working with myself. I'm working with my team. I'm working with my gifts. I'm working in the wheelhouse that really suits me and really makes me shine. And I'm sure you can hear it like in my voice as I'm saying this, how passionate I am about it. Yeah, so everything just kind of becomes easier. It's not like this bomb explodes in your life and then, oh, you've got to pick up all the pieces and rebuild everything. No, all the shit falls away and you're just left with these really awesome things that you can build on instead of fight to scrabble around every day in fight or flight mode and get to the train station on time and hold down the job and remember to go to Coles and get the shopping. And yeah, it's not like that anymore.
Yeah, definitely. Like for a lot of people, it's a huge awakening seeing that wheel, because what it is it's a pie graph basically. But if you think about a wheel of a car and how that turns, if your pie graph is lacking in one area but heightened in another, like Suki said, your wheel's not going to turn smoothly. You're going to have a hard time getting that car to go anywhere. So whether you're rating everything on your pie chart as a 2 or whether you're rating it all as a 10, it doesn't matter, because as long as you have that balance, that's where things kind of fall into place. And emotional regulation is so important to coming into our power, coming into who we really are. And this is what we kind of work through in the emotional part of the physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. And people don't realize how much of the physical and the mental and the emotional all piggyback off each other. And then the spiritual and the energetic kind of ties everything together. And a lot of people, they are like, oh, I wish I had these spiritual gifts. Oh, I wish I had this. I wish I want, I want this, rah, rah, rah. And we're like, careful what you wish for.
Yeah, you got to be ready for it.
Yeah. But without doing that stability of the physical, mental, and emotional, that spiritual doesn't happen. It doesn't tie in together. Those gifts, you can't use them and embrace them and harness them in the best way possible, because you haven't got the rest of that shit down pat. So that has been the huge baseline for you and a lot of clients is coming into realizing that these things all interlock, and we need to have a solid foundation, a stable foundation, and be regulated so that we can then harness our energy, harness our gifts to create what we want to create. So yeah, I love that. Thank you for sharing your experience.
Thank you for helping me.
Even coming into your spiritual gifts, are you comfortable to talk more about that?
Yeah, 100%. I'm an open book.
Well, how did you discover what gifts were what, and how have you found yourself navigating through that?
Yeah, look, like most people listening, they probably have an inkling and have had an inkling from an early age, just like you, that there's something more, or, you know, that but can you not see that this imaginary friend is real? Like, I can see them standing next to me and they're like, yeah, okay, pat on the head. Like, this is just what children do. Or, you know, when you're irrationally scared of something that you don't understand and you try and explain it to someone else. And I remember when I was a kid, I was staying at my nan and granddad's house and my aunt was there. And I was on my own in the room, and I was like I was laying in bed and staring out into the hallway, and I could see all this shit happening and all this stuff moving, and I didn't know what it was. And I was pretty fucking terrified. And my aunt came up the stairs to use the bathroom, and she came out and she saw me, like, you know, still wide awake, eyes wide open. And she's like, what's wrong? And I said, oh, I'm just really, really, really scared. And she said to me that my imagination is so powerful and it just makes stuff up, but I can just say it's not real and then it will go away. And that was probably the point when I like shut everything down. And I'm the kind of person that's really skeptical and rational normally, and I like proof for things. So you can imagine how that goes with stuff that's completely unexplainable and doesn't have proof and is very, very more like feeling based and intuition based. It's been a struggle. It's been a massive struggle. But I think there's a point in your life where you realize that there is more and it's time to embrace it, and you can't really continue to run from it or hide it or explain it away. And even I remember in the first session with Sarie, which was the session where she did help me to meet my primary. So when she first came through, as Elle said, she has this accent. And I think you said to me, my voice will change, but you didn't tell me that it was an accent. And immediately in my mind, I'm like, nah, this is pretend. She's putting this accent on. Like, this is all rubbish. Like, and then there were things that she said, and I was like, I didn't tell Elle that. There's no way she could know that. And I've been like, okay, like, there's no fucking way they can know that unless they are genuinely connecting to loved ones who've passed away, or they're genuinely really connected into their gifts. And I think that was the kind of point where I was like, you know what? There's a point when your human wrestles your higher self, and your higher self wins, and your human just says, okay, I'll do the human stuff. You do that stuff. I'll try not to intervene too much, and you try not to intervene too much with me. And that's probably like the free will kind of barrier in a way. Yeah. So then when I started working with you, it's kind of once you choose, and like we were saying earlier about embracing, once you choose to embrace it, and also once you release the fear around things, because you realize that if you're emotionally regulated, there's no room for fear, and fear doesn't really have a seat at the table, and it's up to you. You choose how much you embrace or how much you don't embrace, because you're the one who's chosen to embrace it. It's not being foisted upon you. It's not being pushed upon you. And once you do, then that's when things really start opening up. So for me, one of the first things, so I've always had wild dreams, like super vivid, super, like I go to another place in my dreams, live a whole life. Sometimes it's really tiring because I basically just have 2 days and no sleep. Like, I've had premonitions in my dreams, and I started to have premonitions in real life after we started working together. Just small things like knowing when someone was going to come home, like thinking, oh, so-and-so is already home, and then standing up to look, and then no one's there, and you think, oh, well, it's bullshit then. Like, my skeptical mind comes in, and then the car pulls up into the driveway. So like I've experienced something a few moments before it actually happened. There's also, you know, there's been some other things when I've fallen into fear that I've kind of pushed away a little bit, and they've kind of come into my face, like, you know, this is time to address them. So there's always that kind of or initially at the start, there was that sort of wrestling again between the human and the higher self that was like, no, 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 this is good, promise. And the human going, there's too much going on, I've got bills to pay. But yeah, it's been amazing, because it's been like reuniting myself with myself, like meeting my spirit team and embracing them and talking to them and asking them things and getting feedback. And I always feel that this is a bit of a trivial example, but this is what I mean when I say that the spirit team is also like your intuition. So I'm at my desk and I'm working, and I feel this almost like tangible kind of like pulling my shirt, or like trying to get my attention, or trying to turn my chair around. And I'm like, go away, I'm working, like just ignore them and carry on going. And it's a bit more insistent and a bit more insistent and a bit more often. And then all of a sudden I'm like, I turn around and I'm like, okay, what? I'm listening. What do I need to know? Like a parent that's just like, I've had enough. What are you trying to tell me? And then I just hear this washing's on the line, because it was getting dark and it was going to get wet again because it's winter here. And it sounds like a trivial example, like why the hell would your spirit team bother to tell you need to get the washing in from the line? But for me, it was a reminder of trust in them and trust that they're right and not need to look for proof, or like even just another little proof point, like that is happening and you need to do this. And you wouldn't have remembered that if you weren't tuning into those, listen, the shirt pulls and the chair turning around. Like if you're not tuned in to listen for that, I would have left my washing online and it would have been soggy. And it's just washing. It's trivial. But that's a reminder to tune into my intuition when I have those pulls, because next time it might be, hey, there's this person who really needs your help, or, you know, your friend's really struggling. You should call your friend. You should call your friend. You should call your friend. And you might think it's trivial. I call my friend all the time. But then you listen to that and you call them and they go, you know what? I'm not okay. I really needed someone to talk to. I'm really glad you phoned. So it's kind of that tuning into yourself and reuniting yourself with yourself kind of thing that's been massive for me. And yeah, the gifts are great. And some people, like you say, hear the gifts and like, oh, I wish I could do that. Oh, I wish I could, you know, see things before they happen. I wish I could have a bit of forewarning about stuff, or I wish I could have dreams that tell me important information, or I wish I could heal in my dreams, or I wish I could go other places in my dreams. But really, the most important things are those tiny pulls of intuition, and you tune into those, the other stuff will come in really fucking fast.
Absolutely. And I mean, one of the biggest things for me was like watching you step into your channeling abilities.
Oh yeah, I haven't even talked about that.
Because it was something that you were like, oh, I'll never be able to do it. And I'm like,
yeah, you saw that straight away. You saw that a mile off.
Yeah. And just watching you come into acceptance with it, embracing it. And also, this is where I mean like the mirror. We mirror everything back to each other, because I didn't have someone to teach me how to set my protocols, to protect my energy, to, you know, do all these sort of things. And being able to do that for you, being able to be there, hold your hand, be like, okay, you need to think about these things. And this is the best way to navigate this situation in a channeling. This is the best way to do this. Like, does this work for you? Give this a go. Give me some feedback and collaborate together. Like, it was almost like a healing thing for me, being like, I was what I needed 20 years ago.
Yeah, totally. This is what we were talking about earlier with like the inner child. Like we are all the same. Like that experience heals you because you're giving that to me. You don't lose anything by doing that. You don't lose energy. You don't go home and go, well, I've just wasted however long. Like it's an exchange, and I've benefited from that because now I've tapped into my channeling abilities, which is amazingly exciting.
Yeah, definitely. Like even watching you go in and trance channel and watching you come back and you're like, it's like, you're like, wow, what the fuck?
Because we weren't expecting it. We were thinking it would be more like the headphones, that I would try and tune in and meditate like I do on my own. Interestingly, my primary isn't who I channel. I channel someone else on my team, but that person on my team is specifically there for that ability. My primary fulfills another really important need in my life, and healing and mutual reciprocity. But yeah, we weren't expecting that. Like I thought I'd put my headphones on equivalent and I'd go into my meditation and I would speak to her. So her name's Dinah. And I would then relay what she was saying to me to answer the questions that you were asking. And yeah, then all of a sudden it was really funny how you were saying, how you go in the car and you sort of take a back seat so you're not wrestling for control. So I remember really clearly like trying to answer a question as Suki, and then Dinah saying, drink your tea. So in my head, she'd given me a cup of tea, like you'd give a toddler a coloring book to like keep me entertained and keep me amused and keep me away from it, keep me happy and safe whilst she, you know, talked to the grown-ups. So yeah, that was funny. And then all of a sudden I was just, I was able to channel, and it's still something that's very new and still something that I'm working out and still something I would love to explore. I feel very strongly like it's something I need to use in service. Yeah. Whether it is channeling like you do with Sarie, with people there asking questions to me, or, you know, I don't know what that looks like, but that's something I'm going to explore slowly with her and with you, with your help. But yeah, that was totally unexpected, but absolutely incredible. And like, what a privilege it is to be a human that can tap into that, but also at the same time, not sounding like I'm giving myself props, but what a reflection of the work that I've done. And the same with you. What a reflection of the work that we've done as humans to get to the emotionally balanced point where we are able to tap into something bigger than human problems.
Yeah. And I mean, like, I don't think I could stop smiling when all that was happening, because I was just like, I remember talking to you and then Dinah answering, and I was like, wait a minute. Who are we talking to? Like, we need clear establishment here. And she was like, oh, no, like, hang on, let me explain. And I was like, oh, okay, all right, well, hang on, let's set some protocols here and let's do things properly. But just having that come through for you and seeing how much Dinah was able to assist you in that process, how caring she was, how nurturing she was, how much information she was willing to give you. You know, I think that also really enhanced a lot of your processing of what was going on and how to harness that energy, how to harness that ability. I think it was really cool.
It was super cool. And there were also, you know, questions that you asked that you know the answers to from your team. So you were kind of making sure that it was Dinah that you were talking to and that I was safe. And there's no kind of, it's never crossed my mind once about fearing connecting with my team. And I think that's really important to tell people, that they only have our best interests at heart, and the feeling that you get when you connect with them is only one of respect and understanding and love, and that it's not like people think about in the movies. So I know that some people get scared about channeling and they imagine like something is going to come through and the body's going to be taken over and they're never going to be able to come home, or they're going to turn into this demon and they're going to go on a rampage, or it's going to be like The Exorcist and your head's going to start spinning around. It's not like that at all. Like, I was still 100% in control the whole of the time, and I could come back anytime I wanted to. And Dinah actually let me back when I wanted to. I do believe that she said like, oh, Suki wants to come back now. And then I kind of came back. Yeah, it's not like the movies.
No.
Like, I mean, when is real life ever like the movies anyway? Like, you know, the kind of classic movie where the guy and the girl kiss and then the leg raises. Like, no, that doesn't ever happen. That's just not a thing. My leg is never raised. You know, life's not like the movies. And that applies to this as well. Like, you're in control. It's your process. Like, they're there for you. You're not there to serve them or fulfill the mission they have in their lifetime or in that form. We're there for each other in that sense, but primarily they're there to help us.
I have to laugh when you bring up things like The Exorcist and stuff, because I'm like, that's what I would relate things to when I was a kid, and I didn't want to be like that. Like, I didn't want to go through that. And it's the polar opposite. There's such a different feeling that comes through when you're being supported to when something's trying to do you harm. And I've had both ends of that spectrum throughout my life.
Yeah, same.
And so I can tell you it's very, very different.
Completely.
And it's not the same as what it's like in the movies. There's nothing to really fear. And fear is just something that a lot of the time we're conditioned into. We grow up watching these horror films and thinking, this is what's going to happen. And as humans, we just jump to the worst case scenario possible. But we create our lives. We create our reality. So like it's up to us how we define what we're going to connect to, how we're going to protect ourselves, and how we're going to harness the energy that's coming through and supporting us.
I totally agree. And this is why it's so important with the emotional regulation. And I'm actually really happy that everything worked out the way it did with you at the start. And I didn't go, why the fuck are you making me have a shower and buy some special shower gel and talk to my fucking hands? Because if you'd have gone, oh, well, it's for emotional regulation, I would have gone, okay, skip to the head. Like, I just want to get to the bit where I get my gifts and everything's all cool and I know what's going to happen in advance. And I travel to these amazing places in my dreams so I don't have to spend any money on airfares. And like, no, that's not how it works. Like, you have the emotional regulation and then the gifts come. And then I remember saying to you, like, you know, after exploring my gifts, and it's not like you get these gifts, you just tune into them, right? So this is something I'm really strongly passionate about. You know, when someone says something to you that makes sense, it's not like you're learning that for the first time. It's more like you're remembering it, or your soul's remembering it, or you're remembering it at a really deep level. Like, yes, I know this to be true in my core. It's the same with these gifts. They've always been there. You're just in the right headspace and the right energy level to receive them and to tune into them and to make the most of them. So yeah, it's not like people listening are just suddenly going to receive these gifts if they work with you or if they work with someone else to tune into their gifts. Like, no, you don't suddenly receive them. They've always been there. They're there right now as you're listening. You just learn to tune into them and to perceive them.
Yeah, you learn how to access them, how to harness them, and yeah, it's not I was trying to think of like another word, but literally all that was coming to me was like baptism. It's not like a baptism of gifts. Like, here you go, you can have this now. But it's been there the whole time. You're just now learning how to use it.
Yeah. Imagine that if you're in that great state of mind, what kind of things are you going to use those gifts for? You're going to use them for amazing things. You're going to use them for things that come from a place of love and that come from a place of abundance and that come from a place of your authentic self. And imagine if you get those gifts when you're at your lowest lows. Imagine when I was like in the worst of my depression and contemplating really bad things. And then my spirit team were like, okay, here's some gifts, like you do with the toddler who's having a tantrum. Like, okay, fine, I'll buy you the doll. Like, here you go. And then like, imagine what you're going to create from that place. It's not going to be great. It's not going to serve you. It's not going to serve humanity. It's not going to, you know, it's not going to fulfill you in any way. It's not going to be aligned with who you are. So that's why the emotional regulation stuff is so fucking important. And I see that now. And at the time I was like, no, let's just skip to the end. And you can just tell me.
I remember having that conversation. You're just like, but why? Like, why do I have to do this? Why? Like, I've done this before. Like, I've done the embodiment. And I'm like, no. I'm like, it's not the same.
Suki.
Not the same.
So funny. I remember saying to you, like, no, but I know all of my trauma. Like, I've worked through all of my trauma. And like, if I could have seen your face at the moment, because it was over message, if I could have seen your face, I know it would have been like just really, Suki. Like, anyone who knows anything about trauma knows that it's just an ongoing thing through your life that is constantly giving you these amazing gems of wisdom and shaping who you are. And like you said, I wouldn't change a thing about all the trauma that I've been through because it's made me who I am. It's constantly giving me lessons and lovely learnings. And, you know, I see them as gifts and silver linings from all of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're never done with that stuff. It's not just like magically finished. It's the same with your gifts. Like, I'm going to be evolving these, and the same with you. Like, I came into this episode saying to you that you didn't, you know, you knew you were a trans channeler, but you hadn't stepped into that at all, and now look at you.
Yeah. We're constantly evolving. We're constantly growing. It never stops. And you're exactly right. Like, literally last season finale, I was like, oh yeah, apparently I'm a trans channel, but that's gonna scare the shit out of me. Now here I am channeling for people all over the world as my, you know, my daily job. Like, this is completely polar opposite, but it's going through that exploration. And I'm sure that I will continue to grow and evolve, and Sarie will grow and evolve as I do, and there'll be new ways of doing things. Like, she's already done that with, we don't just give people insight and guidance and clarity, but she's able to heal things. She's able to heal emotional, physical, mental trauma. Like, there's things that she's able to access. Like, she does Reiki alignments, and I never learned how to do Reiki. Like,
and I've experienced a healing with Sarie. And can I talk about this or?
Yeah.
Okay, so I had a past life that was very traumatic, a lot of stuff around rejection, or so I thought. I have a lot of wounds from rejection in this human life as well, due to relationships and trauma in childhood. So it totally fit that I would be, repeating those patterns or experiencing those lessons again in this lifetime. So these glimpses of this past life came through first when I'd gone to a retreat during a meditation. I kind of experienced a tiny amount of it. I was at a yoga retreat and having a sound bowl healing, and the past life played out again, and I got more information. And it was almost like, the way I described it to someone, it was almost like getting chapter 1 and chapter 3. And I didn't get chapter 2. And so I drew my own conclusions about what happened in chapter 2. So then I knew that this was an important past life I wanted to explore. And so we talked about it, and we went in with Sarie, and she asked me a lot of questions, and she put me in different positions, and she showed me the scene from different viewpoints, which was super, super useful because there were so many insights I gathered from that. And she asked me what happened and whether I knew what happened next. And I said, yeah, basically what happens next is I'm banished, I'm outcast, like I'm sent away physically, I'm completely cut off. And that completely made sense to me from the rejection point of view. So then she actually explained to me, she filled in the gaps with chapter 2, what had actually happened. And actually the events of chapter 1 then caused me to behave in a certain way in chapter 2, where I did do something really awful. And I ended up taking someone's life in this past life because of what they had done in this chapter 1. So chapter 3 was actually a conclusion of my actions, of what I had done in chapter 2, of taking this person's life, and then I was sent away. That made so much more sense. And it wasn't like Sarie was just giving me bits of information to fill in a gap and making up a narrative. It was that same sense, like I said, of recalling that information, of suddenly being able to access that memory that I'd shut off because all I wanted to see was I'd been done wrong by, and it wasn't my fault. And then I had to deal with the consequences. Well, actually, no, you did do something wrong. You need to own up to that, and you need to see that. But I couldn't have had that information any other way. I needed to see everyone else's viewpoint. I needed to see what I saw from the victim's point of view before I could exhaust all of that. Oh, woe is me, I've been sent away, life is really unfair. Okay, well, there's no one else to blame now. Like, what did you do? Are you really the victim? Or did you do something that merited this outcome? So that was like massive. And it honestly felt afterwards like this massive weight had been lifted, because in that life, we were actually able to change what had happened in chapter 2. I was actually able to rewrite with her what the outcome was. And I didn't feel the need, after understanding everything from everyone's viewpoint, I didn't feel the need to kill that person, to take that person's life in that past life. I should clarify. So yeah, we were able to mend that relationship and actually feel like that person became really, really important to me in that life. And I was able to see the rest of the life play out completely differently. And that's completely lightened the load in this life, because not only do I know that I didn't commit that horrendous thing that's hanging over me, but I also understand the victim mentality that I was in and blaming everyone else. And there's so many times now where I think, hang on a minute, what's the actual situation here? Like, am I just seeing myself as the victim, or did I do something that has caused this outcome of events? And what can I do to understand that and to rectify that, or to make sure it doesn't happen again? So it's massively powerful stuff. It's huge.
Yeah. From memory, like, I remember you saying Sarie was like, this trauma no longer exists. Like, we've rewritten this timeline, something like that. Like, it was,
yeah,
like it full on took you back to that point in time.
Oh, 100%. I was standing there in that lifetime's body.
Like, that blows my mind. And you came out of that going, I no longer have this issue. I no longer feel like this. because in a way, like, history was rewritten.
Yeah. And actually, I understand that my mother in that life was my mother in this life. I do not have a good relationship with my mother. She hasn't spoken to me since I was 18. And we have there's a lot of trauma around that relationship, both from her side and from my side. And actually, in that lifetime, being able to stand in her shoes and see that all she had was love for me, but she had to act the way she did because she had to protect everyone else. You can't allow a killer to live amongst you and just carry on, no consequences. As the person in authority that she was in that life, she had to take into account everyone's safety. She had to take into account, that she was setting an example, even if it was her daughter. So yeah, it's massive. Like, there's so much to be gained from exploring this, but I would caveat that I was aware of that past life. So we don't choose where we go back to in our past life sessions. Like, I know that from my experience, going back to that life, I was completely unaware of. But with this particular experience, it had come up twice for me, the exact same life, the exact same, consequences, the exact same story playing out. So we kind of had a point to go back to, I guess.
Yeah.
And it was a bit of a, let's just have a chat and see what happens. And then Sarie was able to, take the reins and do what was best for me and allow me to come out the other side 10 million kilos lighter and huge learnings that I'm still integrating and processing. But yeah, it's massive, massive stuff.
Yeah, wow. I mean, because I remember bits and pieces, but I obviously wasn't entirely there. So to clarify, Sarie was able to guide you through this past life regression to this lifetime where you were able to see everything from your position in that point in time. But she also allowed you to step into the body of your mother in that lifetime and other people in that lifetime that were involved in chapter 1. Is that right?
Yeah. So for context, like I keep saying chapter 1. So basically the experience was, we talked a bit about how we kind of were just going to see how it goes, as in Elle and I talked about we were going to see how it goes. Elle had already spoken to Sarie that a healing may be needed. Then you brought Sarie through and she asked for my help in this. So I was to close my eyes and to take myself back and put myself in the body of my past self in that life and to describe what I was seeing. So the scene that I was seeing was there was a creature that is not a creature that is in this realm and lifetime, and it had been killed, and not very nicely. And I was very close to this creature. I had insisted that we keep this creature in the village, even though it wasn't the done thing. And even though people were scared and even though people weren't very happy about the situation, but I insisted. In that lifetime, my mother was like the head of the small village, of the community. So obviously she had the power, or not the power, but she kind of had the authority to say yes or no. She said yes. Then this creature was, found killed. So I was standing over this creature. So I had so many emotions, grief that I'd lost this creature I was so connected to. I had no understanding of what had happened. The whole village was there. I had all of their grief and rage and anger and fear because the worst case scenario had happened. They were scared that this creature would come and then something bad would happen as a consequence. And then, there's the what happens next, like what's happened, what's going to happen now. So that was kind of chapter 1. Yeah. And then chapter 3 was me being kind of going through a ceremony to depart the tribe, to depart the village and the community, to be sent away to live on my own on an island by myself. And I could sort of see their island in the distance, couldn't see them, but I could see their island. And I was completely and utterly cut off. There was no way back. There was no acceptance back. That was it. You're dead to us. Yeah. So that wasn't a super pleasant life. There was an awful lot of grief. I'd lost absolutely everything. I lost this creature I was so close to. I'd lost my family. I'd lost my tribe. I'd lost my safety. I've lost everything. And the overwhelming sense for me was of rejection. I'd just been sent away, as a consequence of wanting to keep this creature. I'd been sent away because something bad had happened. And it felt so unfair to me that I should have to bear those consequences. But, I did insist on keeping it. So that's just the way it is. So I described all of that to Sarie. And it was funny because this time when I went into that past life, I did take note of the crowd. And I don't think I told you this at the time, but I did take note of everyone who was standing there. So everyone, and I'm seeing it now as I'm describing it, everyone's wearing kind of dark, muted clothes, and it's at nighttime.
Yeah.
And there's one person who's wearing a white shirt. And this really stood out to me when I was looking at the crowd, that there was one kind of person that was almost highlighted, and I didn't really think anything of it. And then Sarie asked me to describe what I was feeling. And then she asked me to go into the body of my mother and to describe what she was feeling. And I just felt this overwhelming sense of sorrow because she's seeing her daughter absolutely grief-stricken, and the village is angry. So there's a sense of responsibility there. And there's this almost weighing up of like, my role is this. I have to balance the village with what's happening with my daughter and my family. Then Sarie asked me to step into my father's body, who basically just wanted to run to me and hug me and protect me, but couldn't because, you know, he's the supporter for his wife and there's other people there. And then she said, and I could feel my brothers behind me. And so then Sarie said to me, do you notice the man standing there? And I said to her, directly behind me or on the other side? And she said, on the other side. And I knew exactly who she was talking about, the guy with the white shirt on. So then she kind of said, do you know what happened next? And I said, yeah, I'm sent away. And she said, okay, but that's not the full story. And then she explained that this person had been the person to kill the creature. And so then I took revenge and killed that person. And yeah, that filled in the gaps of what happened and explains why I was sent away. I wasn't sent away because I insisted on keeping the creature. I was sent away because of my actions after that, you know, taking a human life. So what Sarie then had me do was to put myself in the person who had taken this creature's life shoes and to imagine what they were feeling. And mostly it was a sense of like, oh shit, what have I done? Massive regret and like no bad intentions, but like really thought they were doing the right thing, really thought that they were protecting the village, really thought that this would not happen.
Yeah.
So that really helped me to understand where they were coming from, and that really that was coming from a place of love. It wasn't just, I'm a dickhead, I'm just going to kill this creature for shits and giggles.
Yeah.
So then she had me step back into myself and forgive this person. And first of all, she asked me to go to the creature and to, you know, say what I needed to say. And this is something I'd never thought about, that like I actually needed to openly express my grief before I could process any other emotions, because that was at the forefront. So I was able to say goodbye, and I was able to realize, and this is kind of mirroring in my human life where I'm at in understanding that no one is ever fully gone.
Yeah.
I don't believe anyone's ever fully gone. I believe we're reincarnated. I believe we're all energy and we come back. So being able to understand that lessened the loss of that creature, which then lessened the anger at that person for taking that creature, being able to understand their viewpoint, and led to me forgiving them. And in that life, I actually feel like we then proceeded to have a relationship, and I actually had children. I saw myself having children in that life with that person.
Wow.
And yeah, basically living a full life. And the kind of final thing I saw was me standing like as a very, very old lady who'd then become the matriarch, looking out over the sea and, you know, just content with life and how it had played out. Almost like I was thinking about it now, looking out to where I would have been in the other life if it had played out, you know, somewhere out there on my own. But no, I was surrounded by my tribe, surrounded by my family. And yeah, so long story short, that's what Sarie got me to do.
Yeah, wow.
Welcome to my TED Talk.
No, I love it. I love it. Best TED Talk ever. Yeah, wow. Like I remember you telling me bits and pieces about what had happened, but not to that extent. So I'm even just more like, holy shit.
Imagine having that opportunity to go back and to process something as huge as that and to relive it. Like that's just massive. And what's really awesome with the work that you and Sarie do together is it's all us. Like she doesn't say, okay, so you had a past life and you lived in this place and there was an island and you got sent away and there was this creature and it looked like this. Like, no, it's all from us.
Yeah.
We are the ones who see it. We are the ones who describe it. And then she just kind of takes us to what's next and what parts we missed as humans in that life, I suppose, because as humans, we are very narrow-minded and we see what we want to see, but we also are us, so we see things from our perspective. So what a gift to be able to go back and see things from other people's perspective.
Yeah, 100%. Like going back to that lifetime and experiencing the thoughts and emotions from the perpetrator's angle, your parents' angle, not just yours. And then it's kind of like when you see it from your perspective, you're seeing a zoomed up image of a photo or a painting. But then being able to see their perspectives, you're then able to see this whole new image. You're zooming out, you're seeing the full picture. And then you have a bit more understanding and even being able to process that grief for that creature, gain that closure, and be in a state where you're able to understand and forgive. That's huge.
It's massive. Yeah. And when Sarie asked me if I saw the guy standing there, I was at that point experiencing things from my mother's point of view. So it's almost as if I had to remove myself from myself in that life in order to see that person, because as far as I was concerned, as my mother looking at myself, I only had eyes for this creature that had died, and I was looking at the creature. So there's no way in that life at that time I would have possibly noticed that person unless I was able to remove myself from that position.
Yeah. I keep seeing, like, when you're filming a movie and you have like camera A, camera B, like you just switching points of view. But like, that's so huge. That's so amazing. And like to come out of that and not have this trauma of rejection for being sent away, because you weren't sent away. You forgave this person. You didn't kill them. And you ended up living a long and happy life with them. And how that has affected you now in your current lifetime, not having that weight of rejection just hanging over you. Like, that is huge.
Or even just the actual tangible feeling of rejection. So I've had a couple of instances since then. So this was a while ago that we did the healing. When I feel the feeling of rejection, when I felt it since then, my immediate response now is not that it's the end of the world and I'm in danger and I need to be terrified. It's more like, okay, cool. So what's happened? Zoom out. Like, what's led to this situation? Why do you feel rejected? Is it actual genuine rejection, or is it you've played a part in this and you need to see that part that you've played so that you can be a better person? So, you know, if someone says to me, it's not happened, but, you know, say someone says to me, I don't want you there at that event. And then instead of going, well, this is fucked, like, what did I do? You know, all I've tried to do is help, and straight into rejection and victim. I could go, oh shit, that's not normal. I'm feeling rejection. Okay, what did I do? Like, what were the events that led up to this situation? Oh, okay, what I actually said was, I fucking hate your mother-in-law. All right, cool. So, you know, that's the reason why you wouldn't want me there at the event that's in honor of your mother-in-law. Yeah. Makes sense. You know, that's not a real example. I've not done that. I'm not a mean person, but, you know, it's caused me to totally reframe my experience of rejection and how I can grow from that as a person.
Yeah, wow. Thanks for sharing that story. Like, I remember you telling me bits and pieces, but again, I think like I hadn't taken on
and you had just channeled for a time. So
I was like, wow, I didn't realize like the massive impact and how powerful that actually was.
It's huge. This is such like awesome stuff and such powerful. Like, if you're in the right headspace to receive it, it's so powerful. It's life-changing. Like the example of the woman who realized she didn't want kids. Like, how incredibly powerful and life-changing is that you can let go of something you've spent your entire adulthood being obsessed by, and how much opportunity that opens up and how much freedom that opens up. And it just changes your perspective. It really does. It's really healthy to get out of your own head and see things from a different point of view.
Definitely. Well, speaking of Sarie, should we maybe bring her through for a little chat?
Yes, let's do that.
Before we do that, I will explain to everyone her general gist. If you have not met Sarie, she does have a bit of an accent, and she doesn't refer to me by my name. She refers to me as the Raven. So if she is referencing the Raven, I am who she's talking about. But Yeah, I think that's pretty much the gist. Do you think I've missed anything, Suki?
No.
All right, well, I guess I will bring her through, see how we go.
Hi, child.
Hello, Sarie. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you. I would say a long time no see, but the last time I said that, you told me it was just for me that it was a long time, not for you.
Aye, clever girl. Not that long, child.
Not that long. So do you experience time a bit differently from us then?
I would say so. Quite different to how we see it.
That's all that you're willing to go into today.
Aye, child. I believe that quite a lot of people will not quite understand a lot of the elements of time. A bit outside of human comprehension, I believe. Best not to overcomplicate things.
Yes, or fry our fragile human brains.
Aye.
So, I don't know if Elle told you before today, but we are recording a podcast. So a lot of people can meet you for the first time and experience what it's like when Elle, the Raven, channels you, and been talking about our experiences. And I was just referring to my healing that I had with you the last time that we met. So in case I didn't at the time, which I'm pretty sure I did, but thank you for that amazing experience and the way that you facilitated us. What's it like for you when you facilitate us with our healings and when how do you experience channeling?
She did. The Raven did tell us about today. And quite exciting, is it not?
It is.
Quite a lot more people to talk to. We do like our video of our questions. We do like this one. However, when coming into channel and get information for different people, mind you, child, I suppose terminology is a little different for us than what it is for you. But with my understanding of what your definition of channeling and healing is, much the same for us. We are here to support you, here to guide you. And when there are parts of previous selves that do not want to let go, it is in our best interest to assist you with the release of this process. But all in a day's work, I suppose.
And you said when you first came through that we explained to us. So I'm guessing that does the rest of the team come through with you and you speak from your point of view and then just relay anything they say if it's relevant, or does what you say kind of represent the whole team?
Difficult question, child. We are not always together. However, I do like to convene with others to understand the meanings of certain words. As you know, we do have a member that translates a lot of modern day terminology to words that we understand or explains the definition to us so we can better respond. But I do have a few that I keep close and do communicate with, and that is who I refer to as we.
Okay. How many of you are there who are the close ones?
I often have 2 or 3 on occasion.
And so the one who kind of translates modern terminology, is that just because they've lived in more modern times or times that are similar to what we're experiencing now?
Aye, in a way. She is the one that spends a lot more time on the ground, I would say. She picks up a lot more information and spends a lot more time mingling with a lot of humans.
Does she belong to anyone's team, or is she kind of like the Raven and I were talking about, the exchange student?
Aye, she does belong to the Ravens team.
Okay.
But she does venture out on exchanges, as you say.
Yeah, so I think for people listening, I have encountered this member of the team who helped connect me with the Raven and Sarie, Elle and Sarie. Does anyone ever say to you, here's the flaw, here's what, say what you want to say instead of answering all of our questions all the time?
Aye, child. There was one time we were allowed to speak to a few people and we were allowed to give a bit of information on a certain topic. However, a lot of the time, it is based on individual questions and individuals' needs, individual souls. However, we often believe that people that come in to see us, they may not have questions readily available, but when they are in that state of receiving, the questions will flow through what they are meant to ask, what they are meant to know, whether they are prepared or not. The questions tend to appear.
That's good to know. Hopefully they will appear for me because I didn't write any questions in advance.
Aye, child. The questions will come to you as needed. However, I sense that there is a particular topic that you and the Raven have been discussing a bit today that I would like to share some more information on, if that is all right.
Yes, I'd love you to.
Aye. So I've heard a little bit about transformations, people coming into a more stable way of being. This has been stressed with quite importance, and I would also like to validate that those of you that are seeking guidance, insight from others outside of yourself, there are connections that are needing to be reformed, connections with yourself and stability in your emotional self. This is quite important and is not always looked at as such. A lot of people tend to medicate. Is that right?
Where they take substances to help.
Not processing what is actually going on, but in turn finding a way to dull a lot of the emotions that come through with certain situations, certain environments. Does that make sense, child?
Yes, it does. Yeah. So what would you like to say to people who might be doing that?
The Raven has a reference that I would like to borrow from her. She often calls it a Band-Aid solution, which I believe is like a wound dressing. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Aye. So this does not heal or fix the underlying issue. It only puts a piece of fabric over the problem, thinking that it will hold. Although that might seem easier in the moment, it is not easier in the long term. And might I suggest that those of you that are struggling with regulation, stability, it is not anything to be made to feel weak. It is just that you have not been taught how to assess and process such big emotions. And some of you are taking on energy that is not even yours. You take on other people's emotions, not quite your own. So, I would like to suggest that becoming a bit more aware of what you're feeling and whether that feeling is yours, whether that feeling is a chemical reaction to a certain medication, whether it is influenced by your environment or whether it is influenced by another person. And I'd like you to assess this the next time that you're feeling a little overwhelmed. Is it you that are overwhelmed? Or is it just a dysregulation of emotions that you've not been taught to navigate? Does that make sense?
Yes, I think that's very wise advice, and it's definitely been my experience as well.
Aye, child, been quite a lot of people's experience, I'm afraid. But aye, that is what we are here to assist with. And might I say, child, listening back to quite a lot of what you've said today, we're very proud of the progress that you've made. You are finding the importance in the basics.
Thank you, Sarie. I've had very good teachers. The Raven and yourself included, and others who you know.
But after all, child, it is you that does the work.
Yes, and that's very important for everyone to remember.
Aye. We are only here to assist. We are not here to fix.
Yes, correct. And I have to ask you, so the people who are listening to this won't be able to see you, but there's a particular sort of way that you inhabit the Raven's body when you come through. do you actually come into the raven's body, or because you are kind of moving one of her hands?
Aye, child. What is the question?
Yes, you do this quite a lot. You make me come to the question. So do you come into the raven's body to control her body, or do you come through in some other way?
Control, no. However, I can utilize if needed.
Okay.
The hand gesture, is that what you're referencing, child?
Yes. Yeah. I didn't want to make you feel self-conscious.
Ah. Very sweet of you. But the hand gesture is to stimulate good flow of energy.
Oh, okay. So for those who can't see, Sarie is moving Elle's right hand kind of towards her and away from her and moving her fingers, almost as if she's kind of, moving the air about in front of her, the energy.
Aye.
And I want to talk to you about how you connect people with their primaries. Do you have any kind of wisdom or insights to share around that kind of role that you and the raven have?
Aye, child. We tend to have a rule that we are not to connect you to your primary unless you already have established a connection. This being that it is very important for you and your team captain to build trust, to build a relationship of your own. So we do not introduce unless have already met.
Yeah, that was what happened with me. Yeah, and that's what the raven said as well.
Aye, clever girl.
She is.
We are able to connect you to them if they are already connected. We are able to establish a more solid connection of communication, more so than anything. But it is on you to build that relationship, to maintain that communication and connection.
So that's a very good point. How do we as humans maintain and keep that connection strong? Is it a case of connecting with our team every day, or is there particular things we can do, or how do we do that?
Aye, child, this can change depending on the type of person and the spirit. Your team members favor different forms of communication depending on their personality, their preferences, and their skills. So, this will change from person to person and from team member to team member. But in maintaining a relationship is a lot about, I suppose, time, yes. But it is important that that is not your main focus of every day.
Yeah.
Want to make clear that you are here for a human experience, and while being connected to your team can assist you, it must not take away from your overall human experience. So, if we become too much of a priority, a lot of us will tend to back away to give you some time to come back into your human elements. Very important that we do not rob you of lessons and experiences.
Mm-hmm.
So while it is important to nurture a relationship with time, it is also important to balance.
Yes. And the teams that we have, are they chosen at the moment that we're born, or, it's kind of before we become adult humans? Or is it decided, are the teams decided at a different point in our lives, or are different team members decided at different points in our lives?
Aye, child, your team members are chosen before you are born, before you are incarnated, and you choose almost like your experiences and lessons that you wish to fulfill in this life. You are then almost scheduled accordingly.
Mm-hmm.
But it is always a choice between team member and soul.
Okay, so we partly have a say in who becomes our team.
Aye.
Okay. And can we share team members with other people?
Aye, child, you can. There are certain souls that travel together through different lifetimes that tend to congregate and will often rely on each other for additional support. So their team members can often interlink, work together, and sometimes be shared.
And the Raven and I were talking about this in the podcast, and she said you haven't really given her a super straight answer in the past. But once you're in the spirit team, once you become a member of the spirit team, are you able to then come back and be a human, or do you need to learn certain lessons in the spirit team before you're then able to move on to something else?
Aye, child. I like that you and the Raven are communicating quite well to try and get around our rules of what we tell you and what we don't. Now, I would love to give you an answer to this question, my child, but I feel that giving you the answer to this question might ruin the surprise when you get there.
Okay. That's a very good point. So it's obviously something that we will experience ourselves one day.
Aye.
Okay. And is there anything that you or the team would like to say to me or to the people listening, or for the Raven when she listens back to this?
Aye, child. There are always things that we tell the Raven. She listens at times and others she does not, but that is like everyone. We have been giving you a little bit of space as of recent to come into terms with your abilities, and we understand you're doing quite well. But we are always here if you need to call on us. And as for everyone else that is listening, very important to understand that balance is key when communicating with your team. And I understand that a lot of you are wanting to tap in. But my children, this is something that must come with a caution, that while we can support you and guide you, we cannot not control you. We cannot give all of the answers. There are some things that you must discover on your own. So it is important to understand that sometimes, child, a lot of the joy is found in the journey and not as much in the destination. But apart from that, no matter how lost you're feeling, no matter how stuck, how isolated, you are not alone. You are never alone. You are always loved beyond your comprehension. And all you must do, my child, is reach out your hand. You reach out your hand, we will take the other side and we will guide you. But it comes down to trust, as you and the Raven have spoken about. And we are only here to observe and support where needed.
And we very, very much appreciate your support as well. And thank you for the very kind words. So before I let you go back to wherever you go back to, I have a final question for you, if that's okay.
Aye, child.
And that is, what should we do with our gifts once we discover our gifts and once we embrace our gifts and we work on growing our gifts? What should we do with them?
Child, a lot of people's gifts are here to support their experience, here to remind them and others of home. It is important to work with your team, as you will have certain team members that specialize in certain skills and abilities, almost like a coach for a team. Mm-hmm. They can help you integrate a lot of your abilities into your human existence, to not take away from your human experience, but to amplify, to assist, to support your experience here, while also keeping you connected to home.
So another example of balance then.
Aye, child. We do not tell you to balance for our health, I'm afraid. Quite important.
Yes.
I know that the Raven's not a big fan of the word. However, it is something that holds quite a lot of meaning. And it is something that we understand is not always easy. But it is part of the fun. Part of the journey is finding your way into balance. Finding your way, that is where the best lessons are learnt.
I would agree. So before I let you go, back to where you go, is there anything else that you would like to say to the people listening?
Well, child, There is someone in particular in the team that's quite pushy at the moment. I believe you know who they are. So let me try and paraphrase this in a way that is not so direct. We understand that the world is changing. We understand that for some, things might be difficult, and for others, might be easy. But it is not about what we have and what we don't. It is about who we are, who you are, and what you choose to be and how you choose to be it. The Raven is not wrong when she states that you do create a lot of your life and the opportunities that are presented. However, we understand that it is not always easy to navigate your way through a stormy sea, and some people will get lost. But child, consider this a lighthouse to guide you back home, to guide you back to basics, in how to come back to embodying your true self, because that is what is most important, that you are true to yourself, child. Where there is darkness, there is light. Where there is sadness, there is joy. So, allow this to be the light in the dark, the hand that you need if you're feeling lost. We are here, and we will guide you. Does that make sense, child?
It does.
Aye.
It was very beautifully explained. Thank you very much.
Aye.
Sarie definitely has a way with words. Did you have anything to do with words in your human lifetimes?
In a way, there were legends and stories I still hold close. Perhaps that helps with a lot of paraphrasing from these others.
I think so. You definitely have much more of a way with words than some other team members, that's for sure.
Aye.
Some people have a lot more sass than you do, some team members.
That might be a bit more of a personality.
Yes, I think so.
Aye. Well, my child, if there is nothing further, I'll bring the Raven back for you. But know that we are very proud of what you two are sharing today. And being honest, being open, and being true to yourselves in this moment.
Thank you very much. I'll pass on the message to Elle as well.
Aye. Now, I'll bring her back for you.
Thank you so much. And thank you everyone else as well.
Aye.
Welcome back.
Hey.
She was like fully embracing the microphone. She loved speaking to everyone. And she said that she's very proud of us and what we're sharing.
Yeah, well, I mean, thanks so much for coming and chatting with me today. I know this is like a little bit different to how these episodes usually play out.
Yeah, it was really good. It was really good just to chat and express our opinions and give some advice and share our journey. So for me, it's really important that if I share, I don't know who I might inspire or help or reach. So I'm always, like I said, I'm an open book and happy to discuss these things and happy to share. And hopefully we inspired some people or at least opened some people's minds today.
Hopefully. I mean, the whole point in starting this podcast was to let people know that they're not alone. So hopefully we've achieved that in season 1 and 2. And who knows, if you guys enjoyed this episode, let us know. This might end up being a series of Suki and Elle's life stories. I don't know. Our Law and Order journey.
My TED Talk.
Thanks for being here, babe. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure.
And if anyone wants to reach out to you and chat to you in particular about anything that you've shared today, where can they find you?
So probably on my personal Instagram, which would be my name, Suki Van K. So SUKIVANK on Instagram.
Thanks so much for chatting. Well, this is your Earthside Spirit Guide signing off for the week. If you'd like to know more about how you can work with me, you can follow me on Instagram at elle.embers or visit my website, elleembers.com.